Hello world, hello Zion. It's Prince Easy coming at you again. As usual, I do have a couple of slides that I want to share with you in this great day of ours, right? So, I don't know if this is true, but we're gonna find out, right? It seems that these hidden forces have chosen Kenya as their guinea pig for some reason. Well, I know why, right? Because Kenyans over there, they are warriors, right? They are warriors. That's why the country is set up the way it is set up, right? They are warrior-like peoples, right? And of course, I've seen the push on the seed, right, on the GMO seeds, and now this, well, we shall find out sooner or later, right? Well, you can read for yourself. You can watch for yourself, right? Especially this guy, because he was one of them, so he can't really be discredited because he knows the in and outs of the whole situation. Supposedly. Well, pertaining to this matter here, well, I shall circle back to this matter, right? Now there is this whole situation that is unfolding over there in the Eastern Asia. Aflatoxin, right? This is a doctor from the Gaza situation reporting that apparently some foods were contaminated with this poison, right? I just want to keep it on record, right? So, this whole ordeal, right? And these are the statements that are coming out, right? Well, something tells me that I should sit on this out. Something tells me I should let this one play out to whatever inevitable ending it has, right? So the righteous are waking up, brothers and sisters, right? Those people who can see the light from the darkness, right? And as per the reports I'm hearing, about 200 individuals in this country have been arrested just because, right? Just because they were not with the killing. So this is another situation that is unfolding, right? In their whole showmanship, people are actually paying with their lives, right? These airdrops are literally killing people. As for the last report I've heard, 23, and others have been wounded by this help of theirs. I don't know how much 23 Palestinian lives is worth these days, but hey, I'm just here to document the past. Huh? This is the interesting phenomenon, right? We are rebelling. We are figuring out and we are understanding that these people want to take it all, right? That capitalism and the challenges it is facing right now, it is turning more and more greedy, and that makes it really dangerous. So people showed out. This is Japan, if I'm not mistaken, apparently, right? People are dying in Ukraine, people are dying in Gaza, both sides. They're fishing, right? So much controversy around Superman. Why and for who? Well, right? The righteous are showing up. I mean, how much of a robot do you have to be to do such a thing? Isn't there any such thing as an unlawful order? Like the whole premise of making a whole country illegal. When was this deemed acceptable practice? When? But hey, here we are. It is happening in front of our faces, isn't it? Right? Like these things, they're doing them for sure to convince people that, hey, we're actually doing it. They can show the trucks that are outside the borders and all of that, right? They can show those because those will prove that there's actual starvation going on. And this is just a way to cleanse themselves, you know. The things that they choose to spend money on, quite interesting. They're always working on a new plan. Always. Qatar in Egypt, always. How many proposals have you brought forward for all of them to fail? I don't know how many. But hey, who is counting? This is ritualistic. Believe me, you. This is ritualistic. Do not partake in such rituals. Okay? Warning has been given. It's just a meme I saw out there. They say Jeffrey may have been working with the Russians or the Chinese intelligence, according to the CIA officer Mike Baker. Well, let me do this. So, disclaimer, fair use disclaimer issued, right, for review purposes. So this is Nelson Mandela, right? And listen to this speech, right?
They decided to drop the atom bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Killed a lot of innocent people who are still suffering from the effects of those bombs. Those bombs were not aimed against the Japanese. They were aimed against the Soviet Union to say, look, this is the power that we have. If you dare oppose what we do, this is what is going to happen to you. Because they are so arrogant, they decided to kill innocent people in Japan who are still suffering from that. Who are they now to pretend That's where the policemen have worked. When Japan was retreating on...
Yeah, right? Because a lack of better terms, I call it denialism, right? Denialism that has been going on in Japan, right? For political reasons, right? Political correctness and all of that. But I think it's ridiculous, right? This was a crime against humanity. It was, still is. And people have to come to terms with that. Just like they hold us to come to terms with the enslavement of the African people. Because it wasn't that long. People just have to come to terms with, okay, it's a crime against humanity, and what are we going to do to recalibrate, right? To recalibrate our whole situation, right? Because this is what is happening, right? There's so much injustice in such a big scale. It has to be concerning for any sane person, right? I'm just saying, right? What happened with Operation Warp Speed? That was not okay, right? Sooner or later, and I'm hoping sooner, that people will wake up and start asking questions and actually taking accountability, right? Because these people are masters of avoiding taking, right? They don't want to be shown their accounts, right? Because if they were shown their sins, that would be the end of them, right?
Before that, can I actually read you like?
Yeah, read me whatever you like to do.
Yeah, there's some verses that actually pulled out of the Talmud, and
Go ahead.
And this is not going to be me trying to argue it or anything of the sort. I'm just going to read it plainly from the Talmud itself. Like if you look at Sanhedrin 59a, murdering goyim is like killing a wild animal. Abodazara 26b, even the best of the Gentiles should be killed. Sanhedrin 59a, a goy who pries into the law, which means the Talmud, is guilty of death. This is why you can't even trust the Jew when you're talking about the Talmud, because you're trained to lie about it in the first place. Or you look at Liber David 37. To communicate anything to a goy about our religious relations would be equal to the killing of all Jews. For if the goyim knew what we teach about them, they would kill us openly. Can you make this up? Yevamah 11b. Sexual intercourse with a little girl is permitted if she is 3 years of age. Hikothakam X1. Do not save goyim in the danger of death. In the same excerpt, show no mercy to the goyim. Like, I can go on and on. I basically was prying into the Talmud, what was it, I think 8 months ago, and I just pulled out all these verses. Like, again, this is a salient theme. If it was something that showed up once in a while, I would be like, okay, this is weird, let's talk about this. Why is this repetitively throughout the entire book? I can scroll forever on this. Like, what does that say about the faith, where a big part of their faith is, once again, the separation of the chosen and their cattle? That's why, ultimately, they're trained to not care about us.
I need the answers. I can't even believe the things that I just heard. This way that they look at us.
Well, you see, these people are cooked. You know, they just don't know it yet, right? But basically, they are cooked, right? Because they have Gen Zs researching what they're about and what their claim is, right? That's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. But what they're finding is not, well, the damage that's gonna be done it's not gonna be repairable. It's not. It's not. Not any amount of censorship will reverse that course. Trust me. Right? Trust me.
Not every European does, but a bunch of them do. We know, for example, that Sir Isaac Newton was stealing his material. Ibn al-Haytham was doing calculus, and then somehow Sir Isaac Newton invents calculus 600 years later. It's amazing. So, yeah, there's a problem with that. I've noticed Germans tend to cite Muslim scholars when they're so. For example, Husserl, the German philosopher, if you look at his bibliography, he has Ibn Sina and Ibn al-Haytham in there, and that's where I'll just be honest. That's where I discovered those Ibn Sina and Ibn al-Haytham I had never been taught about. Not every European does, but a bunch of them do. We know, for example, that Sir Isaac Newton was stealing his material.
Okay, first of all, let me correct this intellect here. They did not get their knowledge from Muslim scholars, they got their knowledge from Arab scholars. That's number one, because it seems that the Europeans cannot distinguish between Arabs and Muslims. They can't. Right? Because they hate both. So they don't care to tell the difference, right? Because if they were to hate one, then a situation might happen. What if maybe you hate Muslims, maybe an Arab is Christian, then are you obliged to treat them better or something as a deranged so-called Christian or something, right? It's crazy. And the second part is that these so-called scholars of the Arab world, they got their knowledge from Egypt. And what was Egypt? It is like it's like the product of the African civilization, or rather the African experience, right? You can't talk about East Africa without talking about South Africa, right? And you can't talk about Egypt without talking about East Africa and the central region. You cannot talk about that. All the kingdoms over there, they are all connected by blood, right? And that was a big deal for us, right? And we taught these people, starting with the Arabs, right? Because they were closer, right? They were closer. And then the Europeans came, and then, as usual, chaos. They commandeered everything, right? We were not a warlike peoples, right? For those who are quote unquote shaming the Africans, right? We never had such big wars like that. Even the Arabs, right? I heard one historian say they only had one huge war over there in the so-called Middle East. That was the only war that they had. But since that entity introduced itself over there, it was war non-stop. And it's the same thing in Africa, it's the same thing everywhere. So I'm hoping that people check themselves, right? The Russians have done, right, a good job of that, right? Because they're the only logical Europeans I'm seeing out here, right? And a few of them, right? Especially the leaders, right? It is embarrassing, right? But again, all of this has to happen because they are phonies, right? This intellectual here is alluding to the fact that Newton was a phony. Full stop. He was a phony. That's it. Right? The doggone knew about the celestial bodies since way back. We had maps and stuff, right? Because this whole thing, biblically speaking, right, or African wise speaking, it's just a clock. It's a clock. Do we take that clock into consideration? I don't think so, right? We just use the one element of this clock, which is the sun and the moon. These are the ones that we exploit the most. But the stars are also part of a system, right? So this is just the reality, right? It's just the reality here, right? That the Greek and the Romans came to Egypt and learned, right? And now the question becomes, what happened, right? Here is where the barbarism, right? The barbarism revealed itself, came out of nowhere, just started killing, and never ever stopped. So it's incredible. Right? It's like a force of nature or something, you know? So anyway, right? This is their last ploy to save their civilization, right? They figured, well, the most important element of society is falling apart, right? That is the family. So maybe we commandeer this faith and use it for our political movement, right? There is no such thing as Christian nationalism. It does not exist, right? There is no specific Messiah for specific nations. It doesn't work like that, right? I was watching a movie a long time ago called The Head of State, right? And one of the candidates, I don't want to spoil the movie, one of the candidates came out and just said, you say just God bless America, and he just end there, you know. There is no specific and custom, right? Justice does not work like that, or God does not work like that, right? Right? He has a question, my guy, right? After George Galloway done come out here and called out his people, why are they silent? So apparently there is a Palestinian footballer who was shot while in line to get some food, right? And the soccer world, with all of its influence, was silent, right? That shows you the power of the synagogue of Satan, brothers and sisters, right? It runs deep, extremely, really deep, right? I'm literally built of questions, right? I'm literally built of. You can watch this report on your own sound.
In America, you can change political parties, but you can't change the policies. In China, you cannot change the party, but you can change policies.
So in that time, China ceased to be communist. Is that what you're saying?
Well, China is a market economy, and it's a vibrant market economy, but it is not a capitalist country. Here's why. There's no way a group of billionaires could control the Politburo as billionaires control American policymaking. So in China, you have a vibrant market economy, but capital does not rise above political authority. Capital does not have enshrined rights. In America, capital, the interest of capital and capital itself has risen above the American nation. The political authority cannot check the power of capital. That's why America is a capitalist country, but China is not. So in the 65 or 66 years, China is being run by one single party, yet the political changes that have taken place in China in this past 66 years have been wider and broader and greater than probably any other major country in modern memory. In America.
So this is the struggle, right? This is the struggle, a decisive moment for Africa especially, right? People keep focusing on politics, while it's not about politics, right? Politics for them is just a mask they put on, just like religion. It's just a mask they put on so as they can push their agenda. So people need to wake up that this tension here we see in Tanzania, the tension that we see in everywhere, in the Sahel, everywhere, it's because of these people that are using capital to have actual power on top of the politicians. So when I see people talking about politicians, no, you are not really going to the root of the problem, right? This is why Russia and China have succeeded. Nobody is above the nation or the interests of our nation as a whole of us. And that has to be the new model, right? So let these billionaires do whatever they want to do. I know, number one, for a fact, their money is not in yuans, nor is it in rubles. So it is most likely in dollars or euros, and they're not doing so well. Neither are they. So they are in pressure. They are they are under pressure also to push their agendas. But again, it's just a question of loyalty, right? Because this is all coming to an end. You know it, we know it. So choose now. What are you loyal to? Your secret societies or actual people who are not actually deceiving? You know better about deception, don't you? So I think this is actually accurate, and that's a problem with Western nations. They have let these people with money basically have all the power and dictate what happens and what does not happen. Right? Another form of capital is believers in a faith or a religion, so to speak. That's a capital. You have some sort of control over the lives of these people in one way or the other, isn't it? So this is where we are, right? But again, the West hates the freaking communists. I'm seeing a big red moon coming from the crowds. Beautiful. So the platform's team did this whole situation here. So apparently the middlemen are now more powerful than actual people doing the transaction. This is another thing that this is another hurdle we as the people that are looking to be free have to overcome. Monopolies of Visa and MasterCard, they need to end. Yeah, they need to end. Right? Because now they are using this power to censor people front and center, right? But luckily for the Americans, Trump kept the capitalists in check, right? And another peculiar phenomenon is the amount of billionaires going under. It's somebody should be looking at that, right? Something very spectacular is happening. I remember I showed a video. It was a music video. Right? It was a music video. I showed it here a long time ago. Right? That this thing was happening. Right? It's a silent power struggle going on over here. Believe me, you. Right? So as they say, kinds of adult-only content. No, it wasn't about that. Right? It wasn't about that. It was control over the flow of money. Right? Because every transaction that these two parties were doing, right, meaning the customer and the companies that are offering this content, they are now under the watchful eye of the middlemen, which were the banks and all the so-called payment processors. Right? These people need to be put in check. Right? They need to be put in check and need to be reminded, like, yo, nobody's above this nation. You better cool it down, like way down. That's my advice to you. Because to be honest, we don't really need you. We don't. So, yeah, you are irrelevant at this point. Okay? So you figure what you want to do with that information. Right? Don't flex a muscle, you might tear a tendon. Right? Because this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. People have died because of these so-called capitalists. So anyway, well, talk about middlemen, right? The other middlemen for the Indians and the Chinese when it comes to pharmaceuticals are the Europeans, right? They brand the thing and they think, they are the ones that it's just a middleman economy. At this point, it has to die, and the only way it dies, it's if only people make genuine connections, Rajioni? Right? When they make genuine connections and be upfront with that, with exactly what they need, so as people can know exactly how to help each other. So anyway, let me put a pin on it right there. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.